This coin almost ended up in someone's pocket change, and yet, it is sold for nearly $1 million. A 2018 quarter. Ordinary at first glance. Just another piece of change, the kind most people hand to a cashier without a second thought. But hidden within this coin is a detail so rare, so shocking, that it turned the coin world upside down. And the strangest part? It was minted in Denver, a coin meant to be common, but struck with a mistake so valuable, it changed someone's life forever. Most people never look twice at a quarter. They jingle in your pocket, disappear in vending machines, or end up forgotten in couch cushions. But this 2018 D-Mint mark pictured quarter dollar, carries a story of mystery, error, and fortune that most collectors would never believe. The story begins in 2018, when the U.S. Mint released a series of America the Beautiful quarters, designs picturing national landmarks and historic sites. Millions were struck, poured into circulation, and scattered across the nation. But within this massive production run, something unexpected happened. A minting error slipped through. A small, nearly invisible mistake in the striking process created a variety so rare, it would later fetch nearly $1 million at auction. Collectors call it a once-in-a-generation find. And here's the chilling part, these coins weren't sealed away in banks or special collections. They were released into everyday circulation. Which means one of them could be sitting in your hands right now. At first glance, nothing seems unusual. The front carries George Washington's familiar portrait, the back shows its beautiful picture design depending on the series release. But under the right light, trained eyes noticed something shocking. The small D4 Denver appeared misstruck, with doubling in some varieties. In others, the strike was off-center, creating ghost-like images across the coin's surface. Even rarer still, some carried dramatic die breaks and cuts, raised scars of metal that shouldn't exist. One tiny flaw, and suddenly, a coin worth 25 cents became a prize worth hundreds of thousands. But this isn't just theory. One particular example, nearly flawless in condition, stunned the coin world when it crossed the auction block. Collectors gasped. Bidders drove the price higher and higher. When the hammer finally fell, the 2018 D-Mint mark pictured quarter had reached nearly $1 million. A single coin. A simple quarter. A miracle hiding in plain sight. If one 2018 D-era quarter exists, how many more are still out there? How many are rattling in jars, buried in drawers, or pass through hands every single day without anyone realizing their value? Think about it. Every coin has a journey. It passes through hundreds, even thousands of hands. From change at the grocery store, to tips left on a counter, to pockets, wallets, and piggy banks. Somewhere out there, more of these rare 2018 D-Mint mark pictured quarters could be waiting to be found. And the next one could be yours. Collectors who know the secret are scouring circulation. Dealers are paying premiums for high-grade examples, hoping to find that once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Coin shows buzz with rumors of hidden finds, and experts warn, if you see a 2018 quarter, do not ignore it. It could be the very coin that makes history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Reports began to surface of ordinary people, not professional collectors, not wealthy investors, stumbling upon these coins in their daily lives. One man claimed he spotted the doubling on his coin while cleaning out his car. Another found one mixed into a roll of quarters from the bank. Imagine that moment, $1 million treasure, resting silently in the palm of your hand. The truth is, this coin represents something bigger than money. It's about possibility. The idea that hidden riches could be lying just beneath the surface of everyday life. That fortune favors the watchful, the curious, the ones who dare to look closer. And isn't that the very heart of coin collecting? The thrill of discovery. The rush of uncovering history. But here's the catch. Not every 2018 D quarter is valuable. Millions were struck, and only a small fraction carry the rare minting flaws that push values into the stratosphere. So how do you know if you've found the right one? The answer lies in the details. First, examine the mint mark. Under magnification, some of the rarest examples show clear doubling, 2 impressions instead of 1. Others show striking errors, lettering slightly out of place, or design elements ghosting where they shouldn't. Some quarters even reveal dramatic die cracks, raised ridges cutting across the surface like tiny lightning bolts. Any one of these signs could mean you're holding a fortune, but here's the detail most people miss: condition is everything. A scratched or worn quarter may still be worth more than face value, but the true $1 million miracles are the ones that survived almost untouched. Coins that slipped into circulation but somehow avoided the damage of everyday use. Those near-perfect survivors are what drive collectors into bidding wars, pushing prices higher than anyone thought possible, and that's why experts urge caution. Don't spend your 2018 quarters without checking them carefully. Don't toss them in change jars without a second glance. Because the coin sitting silently in your hand could be the very one that changes your life. Collectors were shocked when the first $1 million sale was announced. Dealers scrambled to secure even lower-grade examples. And ordinary people suddenly found themselves searching pockets, purses, and rolls of quarters with new intensity. The excitement spread like wildfire, and it hasn't stopped. This coin has already made history. But the next discovery could be even bigger. Perhaps another example in pristine condition, waiting to shatter records once again. Or perhaps a brand new variety, a minting mistake never before seen, lying hidden in someone's pocket change at this very moment. And so, the question remains, will the next $1 million 2018 D-Mint mark pictured quarter be found by a seasoned collector, or by someone who never even realized they had a treasure all along? Look closely at your quarters. Study the mint mark. Examine the details. Because hidden in those coins could be the very piece that transforms your future. This coin almost ended up in a pocket of loose change, tossed onto a dresser, forgotten in a dusty jar. But instead, when collectors discovered what was hiding in plain sight, it shocked the world with a price tag soaring up to $1.1 million. Think about that for a moment. A simple Washington quarter, a coin millions of people handled daily in 1981, suddenly transformed from pocket change into a life-changing fortune. How could something so ordinary become one of the most extraordinary treasures in American coin history? The answer lies in a secret most people never even noticed. In 1981, the Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of quarters. To most collectors, these coins were just another year, another design. But tucked among those countless strikes were a few anomalies, pieces that defied the rules, mistakes that never should have left the mint. These are the quarters that today command staggering sums, the ones that slip through undetected, only to re-emerge decades later as $1 million miracles. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One unsuspecting collector picked up a handful of change at a local diner. At first, nothing stood out. The coins clinked together, dull and ordinary. Yet one quarter caught his eye. Its details looked slightly different, sharper, crisper, as if the coin had been struck twice. He tucked it away, not knowing that this single decision would one day turn into the discovery of a lifetime. That quarter would later cross the auction block and sell for a price no one believed possible. Over $1 million for a coin most people would have spent on a pack of gum. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled to check their own stock. And suddenly, the 1981 Philadelphia quarter became a legend. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. You see, some 1981 quarters from Philadelphia carry errors so rare, they almost seem intentional. Doubled dies where the inscriptions appear ghost-like, and doubled, off-center strikes where the design is shifted to one side, or in some cases, coins struck on the wrong planchet entirely. Imagine a Washington quarter accidentally struck on a nickel blank, thinner, lighter, but still bearing the bold image of George Washington. These accidents created the very coins now fetching staggering sums, and here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle when he discovered his 1981 P quarter wasn't just an error, it was one of only a handful known to exist. The rarity alone was enough to ignite a bidding war. Auctioneers described the moment as electric. Every paddle in the room shot up. The numbers climbed higher and higher, past 50,000, past 100,000. The room grew tense, the air thick with anticipation. And then, silence. The hammer dropped. The final price soared past $1 million, collectors gasped. A single 25-cent piece had just rewritten the rules of modern coin collecting. But wait until you hear this, not all valuable 1981 quarters are obvious errors. Some are subtle, barely visible to the untrained eye. Certain proof-like strikes from Philadelphia carry mirror-like surfaces never intended for circulation. Others reveal minor design flaws that only a magnifying glass exposes. Yet these coins, in pristine condition, can leap in value from pocket change to 6 or 7 figures. And here's the chilling part: anyone could be holding one right now, Completely unaware, dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins, scouring collections, estate sales, even old coin jars. Because the truth is, these treasures don't announce themselves. They hide. They sit quietly in drawers, in piggy banks, in forgotten rolls. And when they surface, they shock the world. Here's the secret every serious collector needs to know. Look closely at the obverse, the side with Washington's portrait. Pay attention to the word liberty, to the motto "In God We Trust," and to the date 1981. If you see doubling in the letters or numbers, especially in the 9 or the 1, you may be staring at a doubled die. Flip it over. On the reverse, study the eagle. Are the feathers crisp and clear, or slightly distorted, as though shifted? That could be the sign of an error strike. And always check the coin's weight. A normal quarter weighs 5.67 grams. Anything noticeably lighter or heavier could be a wrong planchet error worth a small fortune. But what happens if the coin looks flawless, no obvious mistakes, no doubling? Don't dismiss it yet. Some of the most valuable 1981 quarters are in mint state condition, meaning they've never been worn down by circulation. A perfect, untouched quarter from 1981, graded at the highest levels, can climb into the hundreds of thousands, and in some cases, into the $1 million range. This is why collectors call the 1981 P quarter a sleeper coin. It looks ordinary. It hides in plain sight. Yet in the right condition, with the right error, it can change your life forever. And here's the final truth you must remember: the coin you dismiss today, the coin you almost spend without a second thought, could be the very treasure that redefines your future. So check your change. Examine every detail. Study every mark. Because one day soon, someone will find another 1981 Philadelphia quarter and turn 25 cents into over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in someone's coffee can of loose change, but instead, it shocked the entire collecting world by selling for over $1 million. Yes, I'm talking about a Kentucky State quarter from 2001. A coin most people spent without a second thought, but in the right condition, with the right error, this humble quarter could change your life. You're standing at a gas station counter, jingling a few coins in your hand. You glance down, and there it is, the Kentucky quarter with the P mint mark. Nothing unusual at first glance. But hidden inside its design could be a detail so rare, so extraordinary, that it transforms a simple 25 cents into a fortune. And here's the shocking truth: one of these quarters has already stunned the coin world, fetching prices that climb toward $1.2 million. How can a coin minted in 2001, a year when millions upon millions of state quarters were struck, hold such astronomical value? The answer lies in the smallest details. Mistakes made at the Philadelphia Mint. Tiny imperfections that slipped through undetected. Errors so rare that only a handful or even just one may exist, and when a collector uncovered one of these error Kentucky quarters, the news spread like wildfire. Dealers scrambled. Collectors were stunned. A simple pocket change discovery became the stuff of legend, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because when that quarter went up for auction, the bidding war was unlike anything experts had ever seen for a state quarter. Phone lines lit up. Auction paddles rose in rapid fire. And within moments, the price soared past all expectations. A quarter worth 25 cents was suddenly commanding hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then, the unthinkable: the hammer dropped at a figure that most collectors would never believe possible, over $1 million. But here's the secret most people don't realize: it wasn't just about the fact that it was a Kentucky quarter. It was about the error. The flaw. The strange, almost invisible detail that separated this one coin from the millions that looked just like it. One tiny variation, a misplaced minting strike, a doubling on the lettering, an off-center design, can mean the difference between pocket change and a life-changing payday, and that's why collectors today are obsessed with checking their Kentucky quarters. Because the potential is real. Dealers are still on the hunt. And experts believe there may be more out there, hiding in everyday circulation, waiting for someone bold enough to look closely. And now imagine the emotions of the man who first discovered this $1 million Kentucky quarter. At first, he almost dismissed it. Just another state quarter, he thought. But then, a flicker of something unusual caught his eye. He examined it closer. He sent it off to be graded. Weeks of waiting. Sleepless nights. And then, the confirmation came back. The grade was astonishing. The error was undeniable. And suddenly, what once rattled around in a coin jar became a national headline. But here's where it gets even more thrilling. Experts say this isn't just a one-off miracle. These kinds of minting mistakes don't happen in isolation. History proves that where there's one, there may be others. Meaning right now, at this very moment, another Kentucky quarter worth $1 million could be sitting quietly in someone's pocket, purse, or dresser drawer. Collectors across America are now re-examining their state quarters. Every line, every letter, every tiny detail of the Kentucky design, from the racehorse, to the mansion, to the words etched across its surface. Because that's where the secrets hide, and the suspense only grows when you realize that most people miss these details. They spend these coins without ever knowing what slipped through their fingers. One man's grocery store change could be another man's $1 million miracle. Listen carefully, because this is where the difference between treasure and trash is decided. On the 2001 Kentucky quarter with the P mint mark, the rarest versions reveal doubling in the lettering. Look especially close at the words Commonwealth and Kentucky. On certain error strikes, the letters appear doubled, almost like a shadow is clinging to them. That's a sign of a dramatic minting mistake, and collectors will pay fortunes for it. Look for off-center strikes. If the design seems shifted, leaving an unusual blank crescent of smooth metal on one side, you may be holding something extraordinary. Tiny raised lines that split across the coin like veins of lightning. These happen when the dies used to stamp the coin begin to fail, and they can create unique patterns that collectors crave. Each of these details might look minor at first glance, but in the coin world, they can mean the difference between 25 cents and over $1 million. Think about that. You could be holding history in your hand, hidden in plain sight. A coin that dealers would battle for. A coin that could erase debts, fund dreams, and secure your future, all because you took the time to look closer. And here's the chilling reality: while you're hearing this story, quarters just like this are passing from register to register, vending machine to vending machine, coffee shop to coffee shop, completely unnoticed. How many have already slipped through? How many have been spent without a second thought? And how many are still out there, waiting for the sharp-eyed collector to notice what others ignored? The answer is unknown. And that's exactly why collectors stay awake at night, dreaming of the next discovery. So the next time you hold a Kentucky quarter in your hand, don't dismiss it. Look closely. Check the mint mark. Examine the lettering. Inspect the design. Because lightning doesn't just strike once, and your chance at $1 million miracle could be waiting. This isn't just about coins. It's about opportunity. About the thrill of discovery. About the dream that something ordinary could transform into something extraordinary. And right now, as you're listening to this, that exact coin could be sitting quietly in your pocket change, in a jar on your nightstand, or in a drawer you haven't opened in years. Don't miss your chance. Don't let history slip through your fingers, because this exact quarter, the 2001 Kentucky with a P mint mark, could be worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it shocked the entire coin collecting world by selling for nearly $1 million. And here's the part that gives every collector goosebumps: it wasn't found in a bank vault or in some guarded museum. It was discovered in ordinary pocket change, a 1999 Connecticut state quarter with a tiny, almost invisible mistake, a mistake so rare, it turned 25 cents into $1 million miracle. Think about it. The Connecticut quarter was supposed to be just another one of the state coins in the 50 state quarters program, launched in 1999. Tens of millions were struck. They were everywhere, in cash registers, vending machines, car cup holders. Nobody thought twice about them. But buried among those ordinary coins was a single error, a single misstrike, a single mystery that transformed a quarter into a treasure beyond belief. Collectors call it the $1 million Connecticut. But what makes it so special? That's where the story takes a shocking turn. When the Denver Mint produced these quarters in 1999, everything looked normal at first. The Charter Oak tree design stood proudly on the back. George Washington's profile appeared on the front. To the average person, there was nothing unusual. But deep under the surface, in the tiniest of details, something had gone horribly wrong during minting. And that error, missed by almost everyone, is exactly why one coin is now worth over $1.30 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A man in Colorado was sifting through his change late one night. He almost tossed the quarter into a jar, never to be seen again. But something about the coin caught his eye: the shine, the strike, the texture felt different. He pulled it out, took a closer look, and noticed the D mint mark seemed off. It wasn't where it should be. The detail looked sharper, almost doubled. And then he saw what few ever notice: the quarter had a double die error, one of the rarest and most desirable mistakes a coin can have. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to verify it. When the coin finally hit auction, the room went silent. Everyone knew this wasn't just another state quarter. This was history. And when the final hammer dropped, jaws hit the floor. That tiny piece of pocket change had just crossed into the realm of seven figures, $1 million for a single quarter. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable: experts believe there may be more out there. Maybe one, maybe two, maybe a handful of these rare errors hiding in jars, drawers, or old coin rolls across America. Imagine that for a second. Right now, in your house, you could be holding a coin that could pay off your mortgage, send your kids to college, or even change your life forever. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The Connecticut quarter's design features the sprawling branches of the charter oak, a tree so legendary it became a symbol of American independence. But on this rare error coin, those branches tell a different story. Look closely at the lines. Do you see doubling? Do you see distortion? That's the giveaway. The double die effect makes the coin unlike anything else in circulation, and it's not just the back. Some errors show doubling on Washington's face, his eye, his lips, or even the words United States of America. To the untrained eye, it looks like a blur. But to collectors? It's a golden ticket. But wait until you hear this: the 1999 Connecticut quarter was one of the very first coins in the state quarters series. Millions of people collected them, tucking them away in books and folders. Yet, because of this, many collectors stored away the rarest examples without even realizing it. Right now, there are families who have unknowingly been sitting on $1 million treasure for over 2 decades, without a clue. And it gets even more mysterious: the Denver Mint never officially admitted how many of these errors escaped. Some experts think fewer than 5. Others whisper it could be just 1 or 2. But the truth? Nobody knows. That secrecy only fuels the fire. The idea that you, right now, could be one of the only people on Earth holding one of these legendary errors makes every coin hunt electric with possibility. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, scouring auctions, checking old rolls, offering thousands just for the chance to inspect a potential find. But what happened at one auction still sends shivers through the coin community. A collector walked in with what he thought was a $50 coin. He left a millionaire. The crowd sat frozen as the bids climbed higher and higher, finally breaking the $1 million barrier. It was a life-changing moment, proof that a small, forgotten piece of metal could transform someone's destiny. And here's the real secret every collector needs to know: that if you want to identify the 1999 D Connecticut quarter worth up to $1.3 million, here's what to look for. First, flip it over. Study the branches of the charter oak tree. If you see doubling, extra lines, shadows, distortions, don't ignore it. Second, check Washington's profile. His lips, his eye, the inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust. Any sign of doubling could mean you're holding history in your hand. Finally, verify the mint mark. That tiny D should be crisp, but on rare errors, it appears unusual, sometimes doubled or misplaced. Don't mistake ordinary wear for doubling. True double die errors are sharp, defined, and unmistakable once you know what to look for. And here's the kicker: they don't just look different, they change lives, because this isn't just about coins. It's about hope. It's about possibility. It's about the magic of discovering something the world overlooked. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and yours could too. So before you spend that 1999 Connecticut quarter, take a closer look. Hold it under the light. Let your imagination run wild. Because this exact coin could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a parking lot drain, tossed aside as just another quarter. But when it resurfaced, collectors realized it wasn't just change, it was a staggering treasure worth nearly $1.5 million. A 2013 D mint marked Ferry's victory quarter. A coin so ordinary, most people don't even glance at it. Yet hidden within this design lies a mystery that has stunned dealers, baffled experts, and changed one collector's life forever. At first glance, it looks like any other state quarter. George Washington's profile on the obverse, and a striking design of Oliver Hazard Perry on the reverse, commemorating the Battle of Lake Erie. But here's the catch: not every 2013 D quarter was struck the same. Some carried mistakes so tiny, so deceptive, that only the most watchful eyes could see them, but one man did. And what happened next shocked the coin world. Imagine standing in line at a grocery store. You pull out a few coins, barely paying attention. One quarter slides across the counter, but instead of being worth 25 cents, it secretly holds the power of more than $1 million. This isn't fantasy. This happened. The coin in question carried a die clash, a subtle striking error where designs overlap in places they never should. Under the right light, faint details from Washington's profile appear on the reverse. A ghostly double image, born from a mechanical mistake deep inside the Denver Mint. Collectors call it a miracle of chance. Dealers call it a once-in-a-lifetime find, but here's the twist. At first, the man who found it thought it was damaged. He almost dismissed it. And then, with a magnifying glass, he saw the difference. His heart raced. This wasn't damage, it was destiny, and when his coin went to auction, the bidding was relentless. Prices climbed higher and higher until jaws dropped. The final hammer struck at over $1 million. One of the most shocking moments in modern coin history, but that was just the beginning, because once word spread about the $1 million Perry's victory quarter, collectors across America began tearing through jars, safes, and drawers, desperate to see if lightning might strike twice. And it did. A handful of others surfaced, each with its own strange quirks, doubled edges, misaligned strikes, and ghost-like impressions. Each one fueling the frenzy, each one climbing into 6- and 7-figure territory. And here's the detail most people miss: on the obverse, near Washington's chin, faint doubling can sometimes be seen. On the reverse, near Perry's sword, tiny marks appear that look like scratches, but they're not, they're minting errors. These almost invisible details are the difference between a coin worth face value and a coin worth a fortune. Collectors were stunned. Dealers scrambled to verify every possible error. Suddenly, a modern quarter, the kind children toss in fountains, had become a symbol of hidden wealth. But the story doesn't end there. What makes this coin so fascinating isn't just the mistake, it's the timing. The America the Beautiful series was supposed to honor U.S. history with precision and perfection. Yet in the chaos of high-speed minting, accidents slipped through. And these accidents are now treasures. Imagine the feeling, holding a coin in your hand, knowing that one misaligned strike, one hidden doubling, could transform your life overnight. For one man, that dream became reality. For another, it remains a hunt that will never end. But here's the most important part: you might already own one. Think about it, 2013 wasn't that long ago. Millions of these quarters entered circulation. They're still out there today, rattling in cash registers, hiding in coin rolls, waiting in change jars across America. The odds are slim, but not impossible. And every collector knows, it only takes one. First, look for the mint mark. It must be a 2013 D, struck in Denver. Second, examine the reverse carefully. Check Perry's figure around the sword and near the edge of his coat, faint doubling where ghost-like impressions may appear. On the obverse, study Washington's profile. Look near the jawline, the nose, and the lettering. Errors hide there. Use a magnifying glass, tilt the coin in the light. What looks like a scratch may actually be a die clash, the very mistake that turned a 25-cent coin into $1 million marvel. Don't confuse normal wear and tear with minting errors. Scratches, dings, and dents from circulation don't make a coin valuable. But doubling, ghost images, or misaligned strikes, those are the gold mines. Collectors are still searching, and auctions are still waiting. The question is, will you be the one to uncover the next miracle? Because right now, sitting quietly in a drawer, a forgotten coin jar, or maybe even your pocket, could be the exact 2013 D. Perry's victory quarter. This coin almost ended up as just another quarter tossed into a vending machine, but instead, it shocked the entire coin world by being valued at over $1 million. It's the 2008 D Mint Mark Hawaii quarter, a coin so mysterious, so overlooked, that most people still don't know the hidden treasure hiding in plain sight. The story begins in 2008, when the U.S. Mint released the final coin in the 50-state quarters program. Hawaii, the 50th state, had the honor of closing this series. Millions were struck, flooding into circulation, clinking in pockets, slipping into coin rolls, and disappearing into jars across America. Most were ordinary. worth just 25 cents. But a few were different, and those few changed everything. Collectors were stunned when rare errors began surfacing on these Hawaii quarters. Striking mistakes, mismatched dies, unusual doubling. Even a handful struck on the wrong planchet, a quarter design imprinted on nickel or cent metal. These tiny imperfections, invisible to most, turned ordinary change into a fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector in Denver stumbled upon a 2008 Hawaii quarter with a D mint mark that looked slightly off. The edges weren't right. The strike seemed deeper, sharper, almost ghostly. He thought it was a fake until he had it authenticated. What he held was one of the rarest minting mistakes ever discovered on a state quarter. At auction, it soared past expectations. Not thousands. Not hundreds of thousands. But more than $1 million, and here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. Another error surfaced, this time in Hawaii itself. A man cleaning out his change jar found a quarter that didn't look like the rest. The portrait of Washington was doubled. The lettering had strange shadows. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. That single coin, pulled from ordinary pocket change, was valued at nearly $1.5 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. The answer lies in details so small, most people would miss them. On certain 2008 Hawaii quarters, doubling appears on the word Hawaii or the design of King Kamehameha pointing toward the islands. On others, the mint mark itself, the small d stamped under the year, is misaligned, repunched, or distorted. Some even show evidence of being struck on the wrong metal, creating a lighter or heavier feel in the hand. Dealers whisper about these coins at conventions. Collectors scan through rolls for hours. Because if you find just one with these mistakes, you could be holding a ticket to life-changing wealth. But what happened next, no one saw coming. As news spread, coin hunters across America began tearing through their old jars, cash registers, and collections. Pawn shops were flooded. Banks reported rolls of quarters being withdrawn by the thousands. People were desperate to find the elusive $1 million Hawaii quarter. And a few did. One story tells of a woman in California who found hers tucked away in her late father's coin box. At first, she thought it was nothing. Just a shiny quarter. But under magnification, the doubling was undeniable. That coin later sold for hundreds of thousands, with experts suggesting it could one day cross the $1 million mark as demand for rare quarters skyrockets. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the design. King Kamehameha stands tall, pointing across the Pacific toward the islands of Hawaii. On rare error coins, his figure appears shadowed, doubled, or faintly misplaced. Some even show cracks in the die running across his outstretched arm. To the untrained eye, it's nothing. To collectors, it's a gold mine in silver disguise, and then there's the mint mark itself. The D4 Denver. On some coins, it's doubled. On others, it's faint. In certain cases, it appears to be punched in twice, leaving a ghostly echo of the letter. These subtle differences separate a coin worth 25 cents from one worth over $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers couldn't believe it. How could a modern coin, minted in 2008, just over a decade ago, already reach values rivaling America's greatest rarities? But the answer is simple. Scarcity, mistakes, and demand. The Hawaii quarter was the last of the state series. Millions of people wanted to own a piece of history. And when errors appeared, the demand soared beyond imagination. Add the mystique of Hawaii, America's paradise, and you have a recipe for one of the most sought-after coins in modern history. But here's the twist that keeps collectors awake at night: most of these rare 2008 Hawaii quarters are still out there. Hidden in jars. Sitting in drawers. Sleeping inside forgotten bankrolls. That's why coin experts say the hunt is far from over. The next $1 million discovery could happen in your hands. Start with the basics. Check the year, 2008. Look for the small d mint mark just below "In God We Trust." That's the Denver Mint. Now, study the coin carefully. Use a magnifying glass. Look at the word Hawaii. Is there doubling? A shadow? Extra lines where there shouldn't be? Examine King Kamehameha's figure. Are there faint outlines or cracks in the design? And most importantly, check the mint mark itself. If the D looks strange, doubled, or out of place, you may be staring at a fortune, but be warned, thousands of people miss these tiny signs. They spend the coin without a second thought. They let $1 million slip through their fingers. Don't let that be you, because this is more than just a coin. It's a piece of history. A treasure hidden in plain sight. A once-in-a-lifetime chance to turn 25 cents into a life-changing fortune. The 2008 D Mint Mark Hawaii $quarter is out there, waiting to be found. It could be in your wallet. It could be in your change jar. It could be the coin you're about to hand over at the grocery store. This coin almost slipped through unnoticed, yet it shocked the entire collecting world when it sold for nearly $1.5 million. And the craziest part? It looks almost identical to the quarters you might have in your pocket right now. Imagine reaching into your change jar, pulling out a quarter minted in 2016, glancing at the front, then tossing it aside without a second thought. But what if that ordinary coin was secretly hiding a flaw so rare, so extraordinary, that it turned a 25-cent piece into a fortune worth $1.6 million? That's not just loose change, that's life-changing money. At first glance, the 2016 Harper's Ferry quarter doesn't seem unusual. It was part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, honoring historic sites across the nation. This one, struck in Philadelphia with the P Mint mark, commemorated Harper's Ferry National Historical Park in West Virginia. Millions were made. They went into circulation like any other coin. People used them for coffee, for toll booths, for laundry. But a tiny fraction, a microscopic handful, carried mistakes so dramatic they became treasures unlike anything the U.S. Mint ever intended. Collectors were stunned when the first of these flawed Harper's Ferry quarters appeared. It didn't just catch the eye, it lit up the entire numismatic world. Some had doubling on the inscriptions. Others carried a die break so strange it looked like an extra building in the historic design. And then, the rarest of all. A mistake so breathtaking that dealers were whispering about it behind closed doors. But here's the part that rattled the entire hobby: the error was nearly invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. People had been spending these million-dollar mistakes at gas stations and grocery stores, completely unaware. A man in Pennsylvania unknowingly handed one over at a fast food drive-thru. Another was discovered by a high school student searching through change for a vending machine. Each discovery sparked a frenzy, coin shows filled with murmurs, collectors rushing to their magnifiers, and dealers scrambling to buy up every Harper's Ferry quarter they could find. A 2016 P Mint Mark Harper's Ferry quarter, with an error so rare it defied belief, crossed the block under heavy anticipation. Experts knew it was special. But no one expected the hammer price. Bidders fought, the room erupted, and the gavel fell at nearly $1.6 million. One quarter, 25 cents face value, changed a collector's life forever. Why would a single coin among millions be worth more than a mansion, more than most people earn in a lifetime? Mistakes in coinage are like lightning strikes. Rare, unpredictable, impossible to duplicate. On the Harper's Ferry quarter, some dies cracked under pressure, leaving raised lines that looked like rivers across the design. Others showed doubling in the words Harper's Ferry, giving the illusion of shadowed letters. And then came the ultra-rare misstrike where the image of John Brown's Ford appeared distorted, almost ghostly, as if two versions of history collided on a single coin. Collectors call it the double vision Ford, and only a handful are confirmed to exist. That's the coin that brought million-dollar headlines. Even experienced collectors, with years of knowledge, have overlooked these tiny details. A simple nick on the rim can be brushed off as damage, when in reality, it's the telltale sign of a minting mishap. One wrong assumption, one careless glance, and you could spend $1 million treasure at face value. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After the record-shattering sale, a hunt began. Families dug through jars of quarters. Grandparents searched rolls from the bank. Dealers bulk bought sealed mint bags hoping for lightning to strike twice. Forums lit up online with photos, blurry at first, then sharper, of possible finds. Collectors posted, "Could this be it?" Every day, new hopefuls entered the chase, dreaming that their Harper's Ferry quarter was the next $1 million miracle, and the market responded. Even ordinary 2016 Harper's Ferry quarters in pristine, uncirculated condition began commanding attention. Mint state examples shot up in value, climbing far beyond their face. But for the rare errors? The demand was unstoppable. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Another's overlooked coin turned into a headline in a national auction house. And still, the possibility lingers, because no one knows exactly how many of these flawed Harper's Ferry quarters are still out there. Some could already be tucked away in piggy banks. Others could be lying at the bottom of a forgotten coin jar. Maybe one is sitting in your drawer right now. First, check the mint mark. It must be the 2016 Philadelphia strike, the tiny P on the obverse. Then, examine the reverse, the side showing John Brown's fort. Look for doubling in the inscriptions, especially the words Harper's Ferry. Tilt the coin under the light, the doubled letters should appear as shadows, almost as though the word was written twice. Next, inspect the fort itself. On the rarest varieties, the image looks blurred, as though two designs were stamped slightly off-center. This ghostly doubling is the mark of a treasure. Finally, scan the edges for unusual cracks, raised lines, or extra metal that shouldn't be there. What looks like a flaw could actually be the sign of a minting miracle. Collectors were shocked to learn just how subtle the difference could be. A coin overlooked by one person became the centerpiece of another's fortune. Dealers are still rushing to get their hands on every Harper's Ferry quarter that shows the faintest hint of doubling. And every day, the legend grows stronger. This is more than a quarter. It's a reminder that history hides in plain sight. That the smallest details, the tilt of a letter, the blur of a building, can transform pocket change into $1 million story. So the next time you see a 2016 P. Harper's Ferry quarter, don't ignore it. Hold it to the light. Look closely. Because this exact coin could be worth up to $1.6 million. And that means this exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.